NBA insider from ESPN, Brian Windhorst. How are you, Brian?
Was there an NFL draft? I wasn't aware.
Oh, now, hold on a second. Did you take it in at all, at any part?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Cleveland. Of course, I took in the first hour and a half.
Okay. So what'd you think of the Mayfield pick, Brian?
Well, you know, I'm a Ohio State fan more than anything else. And
Okay.
I am not a football analyst, but here's what I can tell you.
Yes.
Ohio State has a lot of professionals on their defense.
You sure do.
Baker Mayfield came into their building, kicked their ass against the full team. And when they played Sam Darnold on a neutral field without the number 4 overall pick, who sat out the game, which I don't blame him for, Denzel Ward, he didn't. And so I'm just going to base it on that. I can't say what happened in the meetings. I can't say about his throwing technique and all that stuff. I just know I watch Baker kick my team's behind, and I watch my team kick Sam Darnold's behind. So that's all. That's my hashtag analysis right there.
Yeah, okay. That's the NFL draft analysis through the scarlet and gray prism of Brian Windhorst. So what did you make of LeBron's comments that he was exhausted, burnt? I thought it was just a human response. Others are obviously, as always, reading other things into what LeBron is saying. What do you think, Brian?
He gave more effort in that series than just about any other series in his career. And it's just talk about robbing from Peter to pay Paul to get through this series. You know, LeBron had cramps in that game. He's had cramps 2 or 3 other times in his career. He once told me that regular season sweat and playoff sweat are different. It's just when you play in a playoff game, it takes more out of you. And he has cramps when he gets exhausted. And those have happened in later rounds. You know, a couple times it's happened in the finals. I think one time it happened in the second round. The fact that he got cramps in the game, which is one of his biggest enemies, is just it shows me that it may only be technically a second-round series, but I feel like he's used 2 series worth of energy already. And if the Cavs are going to have any chance, and I will say this, I do think the matchups against Toronto favor them more than the matchups against Indiana. There's certain advantages they didn't have against Indiana.
Like what?
But at the Cavs, well, the Indiana big men, I don't know how much you want to go X's and O's, but the Indiana big men are very versatile, and they gave the Cavs a lot of problems. The Toronto big men, you know, they're more, you know, traditional. You know, they have power forwards and they have centers. And the Cavs have been able to isolate Serge Ibaka and really run him rampant with Kevin Love playing center during the regular season. In fact, they beat them twice in the last 3 weeks of the season. They beat them twice. And they have a history of beating them in the playoffs. They've beaten them the last 2 years. So I think there's some slight advantages. But if the Cavs continue to try to get 40 points from LeBron every single game, he's just not going to last. It has nothing to do with him. It has to do with simple mechanics of the body. And to have them have to turn around and play a game tomorrow, a game 1, a huge advantage for Toronto. This happened the opposite direction 2 years ago. Toronto played a 7-game series with the Miami Heat, had to come in for the Eastern Conference Finals on a 1-day rest when Cleveland had some time because Cleveland had taken care of their business because they were a better team and a higher seed. And I think the Raptors lost the first 2 games by like a combined 50 points. And so that's the kind of shoe on the other foot situation that the Cavs have going into Toronto tomorrow. And the emphasis that they've put on LeBron is unsustainable. I think everybody would agree with that.
So did Tristan Thompson play himself into some meaningful minutes? What do you think?
So it's going to be interesting, Rich, because, again, matchup-wise, the way the Cavs played the Raptors in the regular season, they put Kevin Love at center, and they ran the Raptors rampant and ran Ibaka all over the court and spread the floor. And Toronto, who has one of the great defenses in the NBA, couldn't stop the Cavs. I think the one game they played in March, I want to say the final score was like 131-127. They completely took the Raptors apart defensively by playing small. So if they carry over the game plans they use in the regular season, Tristan Thompson would not be a big part of it. That said, one of the reasons why Tristan Thompson had to play was because Kevin Love was getting massively outplayed by every single Pacers big man. And it was a borderline strategy move, a borderline desperation move, which is not an insult. I mean, a coach should be desperate in Game 7, but because, Rich, the Cavs started 33 different lineups in the regular season, far and away the most LeBron's ever had. Even though he played in all 82, he was in all 33. They started 4 different lineups in the 7 games of the first round. Now, granted, they had an injury to George Hill, but, the consistency from game to game is non-existent for this team. So it's very hard for me to even predict what they're going to do, much less Ty Lue know what he's going to get from players from Sunday to Tuesday.
Brian Windhorst here on the Rich Eisen Show. Ask the ESPN NBA Insider our poll question, Chris.
Yeah, Brian, who's the favorite to come out of the East right now? Philly, Cleveland, Toronto, Boston.
What do you think?
I think it's Toronto because the Raptors did some things in this series with the Wizards that they'd never done before. First off, they won a game 1. They'd lost 9 straight game 1s. It was one of the most bizarre streaks in the NBA. Number 2, in game 5, they were behind in the fourth quarter in a pressure situation. That team, the last few years, would have folded in those moments. And they not only rose up and won, they won going away. And then they were behind in the second half in Washington on Friday, and they came and won that game. They are showing signs that they are moving on as a team, and they're going to have home court advantage. Now, I understand that everybody is on Philly, and certainly I recognize that they're doing a great job, and they have sort of a magical run. They didn't get a lot of breaks for a while with all the injuries. Everything is going their way right now. In fact, look at tonight. Jaylen Brown is probably not going to play. I don't even know if he's officially been declared out. He's doubtful. So they're going to play Boston, in my mind, without 3 of their 4 best players. If there's an opportunity to steal home court, this is it. And Boston's coming off a 7-game series with just 24 hours rest. This is it. Everything's going Philly's way. But I do believe at some point they will hit some adversity, and I want to see how they adjust to that. And typically you don't see young players make it all in one fell swoop. So I think Toronto, but it's not like I feel like it's overwhelming favorite. I do think we're going to see a really good couple of series here, and we'll have to see how it all plays out.
All right, Brian Windhorst, I'm going to put you in a sports talk radio box, meaning you can only answer the question I'm about to give you, which could have about 10 different shades of nuance to it. You may only answer it in 1 or 2 ways, okay? So you have a choice. In order for Russell Westbrook to win it all, he must A, modify his game, B, get a better supporting cast.
I think that the Thunder underachieved this year. And I don't think it was related to supporting cast. I don't know if anyone's figured out how to use Russell Westbrook properly yet, or at least get him onto the right page. I think Scott Brooks is a really good coach. I think Billy Donovan is a really good coach. I don't think it's a matter of a coach not knowing how to do it. I think he's a challenging player. And I think he has things to learn about himself, and there's still challenges to learn how to play. There hasn't been many players like this in NBA history. There's not a guidebook like how you play it. But this was a disappointing season for them. I do believe that they had a personality where they were going to be a really good defensive team, and then Andre Robertson got hurt, and they chased their tail on trying to fill that role and everything. And then Carmelo Anthony was nowhere near the player they thought he would be. So those 2 things changed the arithmetic for them. But that happens in a season. You have injuries, you have things that are unexpected. It was not good for them to lose that first round series, even though I thought that the Jazz earned it and played great.
So, can we safely say that the Pacers got the better end of the deal? Can we safely say that now, Brian? Without a doubt.
Well, if Paul George signs somewhere else, you can certainly.
Well,
say
that. Let's just assume George stays. Seriously, playoff P. What happened? Right?
Yeah. And you know what? Sabonis was terrific. Oladipo had a breakout series after a breakout season, and Sabonis had a great series. I think he averaged 12 points and 5 rebounds, which as a secondary piece was terrific. He was a difference maker in a couple of those games. So, yeah, the Pacers look like they're in great shape right now. All I'm going to say is that not even the Pacers knew Oladipo was going to be this good. They may say that they had an idea and everything, but Oladipo was a product of time and place and drive and experience and spending time with Westbrook and off-season training. And, it was amazing. It was amazing how it fell into place for them, and they're a better team now than they were. So you can certainly make that argument. I'd still, Paul George re-signs in Oklahoma City. let's make the evaluation after, 2 or 3 years and see where they are.
Okay.
But certainly if you're the Pacers today, sure, you're declaring victory, but you're at home with the Thunder. It's not like, one of you, gotten any farther. But the Pacers have Oladipo under contract at less than the max for the next 3 years. And I know that they're very excited about that. Whereas Paul George already told them he wouldn't resign. So that right there is enough for them to declare victory.
Man. See, I just decided to go in this direction here because it's going to be Houston versus Golden State. I'm not mistaken there. Correct, Brian? Give me the best argument against that.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of them, their game ones are pretty damn impressive. And I think if you're looking at the entire league, the way that the Warriors have looked in the playoffs so far has been the reawakening that we thought was going to happen, and they have the greatest upward mobility because, ding, ding, they're bringing a 2-time MVP back, and I expect him to be a major contributor. They look crisp. They look sharp. They've gotten tremendous contributions from down their lineup. And one of the things where I thought they were weak this year is that they just didn't have as much of a bench, and Iguodala wasn't playing well. Well, Iguodala shut down Niko Mirotic in game 1, and that's going to be a big matchup issue for the Pelicans. So I think the Warriors are right where they should be. And considering everything that's happened to them, I think it's a pretty good situation. And obviously, the Rockets are just a very dangerous team. It's going to be a tremendous I would love to see Cavs 76ers because of the LeBron implications in that series on the East, and then to see Houston, Golden State on the West. I don't know if we're going to get that in the East. Like I said, I think Toronto might be the favorite. But if that was our conference final lineup, it would be delicious for 2 weeks.
Right, and with all due respect to everybody else, I think Adam Silver is lighting a candle for that every single night, correct? What do you think?
Well, how about my employer and TNT? I mean, yesterday's ABC game was the highest-rated first-round game in 14 years. Okay? I mean, with all due respect to Victor Oladipo, the fans weren't turning in to see that. You know, they were tuning in to see LeBron, whether he could carry this team. It's a very compelling. Rich, I'm going to go so far as to say this. If LeBron gets this team to the finals, and I really have a hard time seeing that the way they're playing right now, but okay, things could change. If LeBron gets this team to the finals, it will be the second greatest accomplishment of his career after the 2016 championship. And I say that fully knowing that he won 2 titles in Miami. I was there for them. I know. That's what sort of odds he's fighting against right now with this team and everything that they've got uphill. And I don't know if he can do it, but if he does, I don't care if they go to the finals and get swept. It would be that sort of level of accomplishment.
Brian, always enjoy our chats. We will check back in as the NBA playoffs matriculate. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich. Take care. Have a good week.
Okay, Brian, you take care. That's Brian Windhorst, the worldwide leader.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.